Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
What's up, NBA fans? Welcome to another edition of The Outlet. With me, as always, Parth.
What's going on, Nick? Almost getting to number one here soon.
Yeah, we're getting close to that top 5 too. Today at number 6, we have the Houston Rockets. Before we talk about them, here's a clip from last season.
You don't know what Harden's going to do. Will he pull up and shoot the three? He did that right before the half. Or he could drive on you.
Dude, he murdered Rubio on this play.
Yeah, that one was embarrassing for Rubio. And James Harden pulled the 3 and made it. So tough one for the Timberwolves and tough for Rubio to watch that clip again.
Before we get going on this podcast, I want to quickly rant on the Houston Rockets real quick. Their jerseys are hideous. And I really liked these. I think these are like the Chinese New Year uniforms. But I really liked the basic design of it. I think they looked really good. So if they would just like replace the Chinese lettering and the Chinese words, I'm not sure the correct way to say it, but if they just replace that with Houston or Rockets on there, I think these uniforms would be awesome.
Yeah, Houston. Parth said fix your jerseys.
Yeah, fix your damn jerseys, Houston.
All right, let's talk about the ranking for the Rockets. Number 6, you think this is fair?
No. But I mean, with the top 5, I don't know who I would replace. So I mean, it kind of is fair, but I don't know. There are not enough spots in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're just not in the top 5. They're right outside of it. They definitely have a high ceiling, especially if Ty Lawson works out. But I like the next 5 teams a little bit better than I like the Rockets. Yeah,
I mean, they got to the Western Conference Finals last year. I don't want to say it was fluky, but it kind of was fluky. But yeah. I think they really improved this offseason. So I think they'll end up being a top 5 team.
That meltdown from the Clippers definitely helped them out. Let's talk about key returners. We got James Harden, MVP candidate, Dwight Howard, Patrick Beverley, Trevor Ariza, Corey Brewer, Terrence Jones, Monty Unis. Who do you like to have a big season?
Well, first of all, I'm surprised you said Monty Unis correctly because you suck with foreign names. I don't know if people have noticed that by now, but props to you, Nick, on that. I think, well, between Monty Unis and Terrence Jones, they need to figure out who's their starting 4. And I think that person will be a potential X factor going into the season. But between those two, I want to know who is going to be the starting 4. Do you have one in mind that you like?
I think Monty Unis is probably a little bit better than Terrence Jones, but both their problems is staying healthy because they both missed significant time last year. I think Monty Unis missed in the playoffs. Terrence Jones missed a good chunk of the season. They both are good players, so if they both can stay healthy, it definitely helps the bench, and the other guy gets to come off the bench and give them a nice scoring punch. So health for those two, I think, is big.
Yeah, I think if neither of them – well, I think one of them will end up starting, obviously, but I think if the other one isn't happy with it, he's good enough to where you can trade him and get pretty good value. So I don't know if Houston will end up going in that route just because they do have Montrezl Harrell, who they drafted. They could use him as well as the backup 4 if Jones or Monty Unis doesn't like their bench role.
True, very true. I would hope they keep them both because that really helps the bench because I think they're both quality players and it'll help out.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
I'd like to see Dwight Howard really he has some of those games that reminds you of Orlando Magic Dwight Howard, but then other games he kind of just falls off and he struggles with those free throws. I want to see him do it for a whole season, stay healthy, and be that dominant setter that we know.
I think he can still be that dominant center defensively, but I know every Thursday if you watch a Houston Rockets game on TNT, not Shaq. I just mixed Chuck and Shaq into one dude. But those two just clown on Dwight Howard constantly about how his post game has not evolved in the last 10 seasons. So I think what you have in Dwight Howard offensively is what you're going to get.
Pretty great.
So yeah, I mean he's so robotic in the paint. Like he's good, but he's just, I don't know. There's no fluidity to his post game.
And like you said, he hasn't added a move to that post game. It's pretty much back you down and shoot the hook shot or off the board. You know what I mean? He doesn't really have any moves. So and he's an athletic guy. So that's what's kind of interesting about it. And he's worked with some great NBA centers. So I don't understand why he hasn't added a post move.
Yeah, maybe he just doesn't have the confidence to do it, to use it in a game. I don't know. I mean, I don't talk to Dwight Howard on a regular, so I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, and then obviously we got to mention James Harden, the beard. Guy had a great season last year, and honestly, James Harden could probably even get a little bit better just going forward.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy he got the Players MVP vote. First of all, I watched that on playback. I taped it. I'm really happy I taped it to skip through most of it because it was terrible. I don't know what the MVPA was doing, especially putting it on BET. Come on now, the show was terrible, but I'm happy he ended up winning the MVP because he was my pick to win it over Steph Curry.
Yeah, because he did a lot last season. I had some good debates with Harris on another podcast about Steph Curry and James Harden. And I always mention that James Harden had to do it without a lot of players. The Rockets had a lot of injuries, and he had to put the team on his back and really carry them into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason why he's, I think, a better player than Steph Curry, and also should have been the MVP last season.
Well, he has another chance this year, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about offseason moves. They made some nice moves, but the biggest move for sure is trading for Ty Lawson. He could potentially be a huge talent for this team and put them over the top.
Dude, they got him for scraps. Exactly. They traded absolutely nobody. Who did they trade? Nick Johnson and Kostas Papanikolaou?
Yeah, and Dorsey as well.
Okay. So one thing about Kostas Papanikolaou, if you Google Miami Heat announcers and then Papanikolaou and just watch that clip, you'll thank me for it later because it's hilarious. But moving on to Lawson, I think that was a great signing for them. I know Kevin McHale said, hey, the starting spot is not guaranteed for him. Him and Patrick Beverly will both battle it out for that spot. But I think Ty Lawson will end up starting, and Patrick Beverly will come in off the bench, a similar role to what Tony Allen has with the Memphis Grizzlies as that sort of game-changing defensive player off the bench. So I think that'll end up being the roles that both guys play. But I think Ty Lawson is an incredible pickup just because James Harden someone needs to spell some of the ball handling duties from him. Patrick Beverly would bring the ball up the court sometimes and all that kind of stuff, but not really a creator for other players. And Ty Lawson, I think, is an elite level creator.
Yeah, and Ty Lawson, actually, James Harden will have somebody set him up for one, so he doesn't have to do all the work. Ty Lawson's probably the best player from the Nuggets team of last year, and they just got the best player from another team for not much of anything, and they're adding it to a team that would just lost in the Western Conference Finals. So that's a big move, but there's still the question mark about Ty Lawson if he can get his act together off the court, which is the most important thing.
I think he has even more, of course, it's looked bad. His image is definitely taken a hit. So that's one reason why he would want to change his ways or whatever. But I think being around this Houston Rockets team and being around players who want, or a culture that's trying to get a championship, just being around that environment, I think will be really beneficial for Ty Lawson and help him out.
Yeah, that definitely can help. Like you said, the mentality, the culture change. The Rockets are trying to win a championship. They have some great players, so it'll be interesting how that works. They also drafted Sam Decker. I thought they got some nice value for him. I was thinking he might go a few picks higher. So actually, one of my favorite NFL players actually called Decker and told him that he was in a similar situation. A lot of teams passed on him, and he got to go to a good team. That player's Aaron Rodgers.
The best QB in the league.
Yes, sir. So some nice advice for him for Sam Decker.
Where do you think Sam Decker will actually get any run this first season? Because I think he's a 3 in the league. And he has Trevor Ariza and Corey Brewer in front of him. So do you think he actually gets any run if those two are healthy throughout the entire season?
I think they might give him a little bit of minutes, not a ton. Maybe if he comes in and shoots the ball well, they could definitely find a role for him because I think he's a kind of type of player that fits their system. But like you said, they got some players in front of him. But lucky for him, the Rockets do have some injuries once in a while, so he could see some minutes. Any moves you don't like from the Rockets?
Losing Josh Smith kind of hurts. It's ironic that he's the one dude that brought them back in Game 6, that fourth quarter against the Clippers, and now he's on the Clippers.
Yeah,
so,
that is.
Yeah, it's funny how that worked out, right? But I know people like forget that Josh Smith is not a bad player. Maybe he didn't have the best contract in the world, and maybe your expectations were kind of skewed because of that. But now that the contract is technically gone, I think Detroit is still paying majority of the money he will make next season. And I think the Clippers got him for like the minimum or vets minimum or something really low. Like they got him for scraps. His game didn't get any worse. That contract is gone, but the game is still there. Josh Smith is a dynamic player. Can play. He's like a fringe. I don't want to use fringe, but he's a tweener at the forward position. That's a better way to put it.
Very true.
Yeah, so he can shoot threes. He does shoot threes. Let me put it that way. He does shoot threes. He doesn't make them all the time, but when he does make them, he's a really tough cover.
Yeah, I think like you said, he didn't have as much pressure on him in Houston, so he was able to play a little bit better. He was coming off the bench. And at times they were running that James Harden, Josh Smith, Dwight Howard like pick and roll little play, and it was really unstoppable because James Harden run the pick and roll with Dwight, and I think Dwight would either get the ball and throw Josh Smith the alley-oop. So it was kind of like a nice little combination. I was kind of surprised he left. The Clippers definitely got a nice piece off their bench with him. But let's talk about X factors for the Rockets this year.
Well, I'm going to go with the Ty Lawson, James Harden dynamic as my X factor. There are a ton of other guys on this team that could be potential X factors. I mentioned one at the beginning of the podcast in the dynamic that Monty Eunice and Jones will have and who gets the starting 4 spot. So I won't mention it again, but we'll go with Lawson and Harden. I think Harden's used to having the ball in his hands most of the time, and I think a lot of those duties will now fall on Ty Lawson. And Lawson's also a capable 3-point shooter, so it's not like he's going to be useless when Harden has the ball in his hands. So I think if they both can work off of each other successfully, it'll take the Rockets over, maybe push them in the top 5 in your rankings.
Yeah, if Ty Lawson plays so high level, I think that definitely pushes them in the top 5 because he is a great player. I really like Ty Lawson. I feel like in Denver, he didn't get as much attention because they weren't a very good team. But he can shoot, like you said, he can score, and he can set up his teammates. And it'll just drag a defender off James Harden and make his life that much easier. So I'm going to go with Ty Lawson as my X factor as well. Best case scenario for the Rockets.
Best case scenario, this team makes the finals. This team definitely can win the finals. I feel like the West is definitely tough, but as we've seen in the last couple of seasons, injuries will definitely affect who gets where in the playoffs. And then of course it's all matchup related. And so depending on that, they can definitely make the finals, but I think that's my best case scenario.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. Best case scenario, I think every team from this point on can win the championship. And the Rockets definitely can, especially if all these players stay well, they get in a nice rhythm, and they stay healthy. They can really push any team to 7 games and beat them.
Right, I agree.
Worst case scenario for the Rockets.
Worst case scenario, I would say Dwight's been dealing with injuries. Patrick Beverley's been down. Monty Eunice, Jones. This team is sneaky injury prone. And so I don't think another season last year James Harden had an incredible season. I don't think if he does that this season, they'll be able to pick up a two seed. And I think for this team, home court advantage does matter. They're not great defensively. Their defensive rating is actually pretty good. But actually, you know what? You guys should go listen to Charles Barkley's rant on analytics because this exact scenario comes up and where he's discussing, hey, just because they're the 8th best defensive rated team, whatever, doesn't mean they're actually good on defense. And I think that's the case with this team. They're not great defensively. I think they can be good, but I think those numbers are just skewed because of their pace.
Yeah, this team has like a tendency to lose focus sometimes defensively, and that hurts them. When shots aren't falling for them on offense, I know you hear this a lot, they don't tend to play good defense. But I'm going to say worst case scenario, obviously I feel like they're a lock for the playoffs. But like you said, injuries, and then maybe Ty Lawson doesn't get his stuff together. So I don't want to say that. I hope he definitely does, but that would probably be worst case scenario.
Did I even mention my worst case scenario, or did I just go on a random tangent like I usually do?
No, I think you got it in there.
All right. Well, just in case I didn't, yeah,
right.
injuries. Worst case, injuries.
Yeah, injuries. Fragile team. But let's talk about the truth. What emoji you picked today, Parth?
You know, I'm gonna go with a ring for the Houston Rockets.
They're your favorites to win?
No, they are not my favorites, but I think James Harden might be giving Khloe Kardashian a ring sometime soon. So just throwing that out there. I'm not TMZ or anything, but
don't do it, Harden. Look what happened to Chris Humphries.
Look what happened to Lamar Odom, bro.
Oh, true, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's definitely in that Kardashian crew now. He's with Adidas, with Kanye West. I think it's a good look for Harden. It'll only expand his brand. And
yeah,
so
definitely.
Hopefully, well, I don't want to say hopefully he doesn't give Khloe Kardashian a ring. I hope, let's say I hope he does give Khloe Kardashian a ring and they both continue to live successful lives.
Yeah, it definitely can help Harden's brand. He's definitely marketable with that beard. He's a funny guy too. But a question for you. You going to watch the Rockets on League Pass?
Well, they have 19 nationally televised games. I'll catch all of those. They play that three-pointer or layup fast style. They're one of the fastest teams in the league. And so it's always fun to watch. But one beef I have with the Houston Rockets is their announcers. They're not. If you're a Houston Rockets fans, if you're a fan of the Houston Rockets, their announcers are awesome because they're super homer, super biased. But if you're just watching without a horse in the race, they are the worst, by far the worst in the league. They're terrible to listen to.
They act like nothing bad happens to any other team or the refs miss a call for them. It's only the Rockets. Everyone hates the Rockets. But yeah, I'm going to watch their League Pass games. They're definitely one that you can just like switch to for a quick 5 minutes, even if you're at a commercial, and they'll probably give you a nice play. So I like the Rockets.
Yeah, one thing I do like about League Pass, I had it for like the final day of the regular season last year, is that you're able to choose which broadcast you want to listen to. So in that case, I'll probably listen to the other team's broadcast unless it's like the Clippers because they're just as bad.
True. Would you rather watch the new show Quantico or the Rockets?
Quantico, I think it's about some FBI recruits and one of them is a terrorist or something. That terrorist plot is so overrated like nowadays. Like I'm not trying to watch that. So I'm watching the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll catch an episode or two, but the Rockets definitely winning because I like watching them. I like their pace, and they added a nice little piece in Ty Lawson for that fast break, so definitely should be good. Thank you guys for listening, and a hint for our next show is you're the reason we do the truth.